Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Melee Revia. I'm up here at Immortals Inc. today with Mikey.
What is up, John? What a marvelous evening we have here.
And you know, you look like you are dressed to go surfing now.
Yeah, dude. Let's go to surf style. Wait, except we're in Northeast Ohio.
Where it is maybe not ideal.
There's probably a wave out there that's just
It might be frozen, yeah.
Yeah.
You could try, skateboarding on it.
Probably like break my teeth on it or something.
Well, it'd be worth it.
Yeah, sure.
So today, it's quiz time.
Okay. I'm probably going to fail.
Well, I just have to know, have you achieved Tolkien masterhood now? I know you were working on The Hobbit for a while.
Come on now. I'm only on chapter 4 still. I haven't even touched the thing, if we're going to be completely honest. But
well, then you may not have a ton to contribute to this discussion, because we're going to talk about Tales of Eriador, which is a fairly recent release for Lord of the Rings 5th edition role-playing from Free League Press.
if it makes you feel better, one of my resolutions has been to finish the book.
All right. Well, that's encouraging.
Might take me 11 more months. But
Okay. So in Lord of the Rings, one of the first places that the characters stop is an inn called the Prancing Pony, the Inn of the Prancing Pony, right? And that's kind of a jumping off point for the adventures in here. So Tales of Eriador, Gareth Hanrahan is the lead on this. He's a really accomplished writer. He's worked for a lot of publishers. And interestingly enough, he was the guy behind the Doctor Who 60 Years of Adventure book that we talked about recently, right?
Nice.
He wrote the One Ring version of this. So this is actually a conversion. This was originally written for the One Ring, and then Free League converted it up to the 5e rules for the Lord of the Rings role-playing, and Michel Garbugio did that conversion. That's another person who we talked about before. They worked on the Lord of the Rings role-playing book that we talked about. They also worked on Lex Arcana.
Okay. The
All right.
magic.
And I do want to, before we even dive into the contents, talk about these end pages here. Because if you look at this first one at the front of the book, there is really a very nice map of Middle Earth, right?
That is very nice.
And if we look at the back, there's a very nice hex map of Middle Earth. And it felt like that combination really, got the theme down well for what we're talking about here. So this book is a 6-adventure compilation. Each of those adventures work independently. You can play just any one of them, but they do have a connection that runs through them. I think they'd work really well as a campaign, which is, kind of the intent. This book was published at the same time as another book called Runes of Eriador. We also happen to have that one in stock. That one is just kind of a setting guide that covers all the nations that are part of the Eriador region. And then this one is adventures set there. You don't absolutely have to have that book to use this book, but they do complement each other really well. If you do decide to run this as a campaign, one of the characters kind of gets a key important focal point, and that's that they get a heroic lineage. So one of their ancient ancestors had just massive heroic acts that they performed in the distant past. And because of that, that character can tie into this. The character's probably going to be human, but doesn't absolutely have to be, right? So going through these 6 adventures. The first one is for 3rd to 5th level characters. It's called A Troll Hole, if ever there was one. Like I mentioned earlier, it starts out at the Prancing Pony, and the PCs are recruited to help recover a lost dwarf treasure. That part sound a little familiar to you?
It does, actually.
Kind of like the plot of The Hobbit?
Yeah, it sounds like the first couple of pages.
Yeah, so that's kind of the focus here for this first one. It does feel like a great jumping off point for a campaign, something that'll really draw somebody in that said, yes, I want to play an adventure set in Tolkien's worlds. From there, the characters get a chance to explore a hidden valley, which kind of has a sandboxy feel to it. And I gotta say, the title, talking about a troll hole, is a little spoilery for what happens in the adventure. The characters are going to get to fight some trolls. It's actually a really well put together adventure. Looks like a lot of fun. After that, we get into a 4th to 5th level adventure called Messing About in Boats. And this is where you have the opportunity to uncover that one of your characters has ancestral ties to the First Age. They travel to an island where they can investigate those ancestral ties, and the character might inherit an ancient quest to destroy something called the Hill of Fear. The Hill of Fear, of course, is going to show up later in other adventures in this set. The third adventure is Kings of Little Kingdoms, again for 4th to 5th level characters, where a woman asks the PCs to rescue her son, who happens to be a hobbit.
Wow.
Who do you think she wants them to rescue them from?
I would say dragon.
I mean, that's a fair guess, but it's actually from the most malicious character that any hobbit could imagine. It is that corrupting of influences, the wizard Gandalf.
Oh, of course.
Yes. This woman's son was seduced to go adventure with Gandalf, and she wants the characters to bring him back. As it turns out, the Gandalf isn't the real Gandalf. It's an outlaw posing as Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a plot twist.
And there are some dreams that the characters may encounter as they go through this adventure of a dark hill, that Hill of Fear that we mentioned before, that recur throughout that kind of set things up here. The fourth adventure, Not to Strike Without Need. This is a 5th to 6th level adventure where the PCs are asked to handle a prisoner exchange. There's a criminal that they've captured and they want to trade him in for a completely innocent person who just happens to be held prisoner. And the characters need to travel to Tharbad to do this. Well, they find out that the prisoner that they're holding was actually working for a ranger. So now the PCs just might have a new connection to that ranger if they decide to not complete the prisoner exchange. It kind of sets up a moral quandary here for the characters as they're looking at things and going, well, who's really the bad guy here and who do we really need to help out? Of course, the players can play it straight through and just go, no, this guy's clearly a criminal. Or maybe they might need to do things a different way.
Somebody's going to make an irrational decision.
Almost certainly in any given game session, right? After that, the 5th adventure is Wonder of the Northern World. This one is for 6th to 7th level characters, and they're asked to deliver a message to a dwarf settlement. When they reach the settlement, they find that it has been burned to the ground, and the person who was supposed to get the message has been slain. Well, it turns out there are a group of orcs behind it, and the player characters need to decide what they want to do. Most likely, if they're heroes, they're going to want to try to rescue any prisoners who could have survived it. And then there's a neat sandbox opportunity here for the characters to go and interact with the Dwarf Council about trying to find aid and sponsorship and allies to attack the orcs and their fortress that are behind this.
Could the hex come in handy there? Or
They might, but probably not going to be quite happening at that scale.
Okay.
Yeah. The last adventure here is The Quest of Amon Garuthos, and I might be mangling that pronunciation a little bit. This is for characters who are 7th level and higher and involves traveling to the distant north and confronting the Hill of Fear. This is that big thing that we've been building up to throughout. The characters are probably going to have found out quite a bit more information about it in the process. And they have to go into territories that the Witch King once held. There's bad stuff up here. I don't want to get too spoilery, but it's definitely a challenging scenario with a lot of really cool stuff going on here. As a campaign, I think this would be a fantastic way that just captures a lot of those Tolkien themes and gives players an opportunity to really embrace a lot of the reasons for why they'd want to be playing in Middle-earth. It does a great job of getting that Lord of the Rings feel going on here. Some great artwork throughout, and just a well put together book that's beautifully themed. 120-ish pages, hardcover, full color, Free League Press, $40. Got copies up here on the shelf along with copies of the Runes of Eriador as well. If you're interested in this, stop in, take a look, or hit us up at immortalsinc.com.
Well said, John. I think that just inspired me to read 30 more pages.
Well, you're going to double your progress. Way to go, Mikey.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Till next time, folks. Good gaming.